What's good, family? Shout out to my doggy, Gaza James, for boosting up your man the YB down bad coin situation. So we got some peak news for your man's Tommy Fumbles. Yeah? I got sick to death of hearing all these funny style narratives. Listen, we all know up and coming boxers fight bums. But what we ain't gonna do is dress a bum up like it's a big, nice, plump, fresh, green-eyed lighty. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what we ain't gonna do. We're gonna call a spade a spade. If you got some big round bulbous butters ting, we're gonna call it a big round butters bulbous ting. That's what we're gonna do. You understand? Like I said, we ain't gonna call it no fire big back lighty ting. Now, as far as the analogy goes to Tommy Fumbles, you best believe there ain't no fire thick back lighties on Timmy Fumbles' resume, and least of all his next opponent. Yeah, these cats whitewashing it all. Frank Warren, John Fury talking about, oh, here's a live one. Oh, there's man here. Here's a real fight. Oh, yeah, giving it all that about this one's a live one. This one's a real fighting one. He 10-1 and he coming to fight. Listen, let me show you how much you mean by coming to fight and 10-1. It's so facetious. Check this out. His last fight, he gets knocked out. Wow. And the man who knocked him out has been knocked out in his last fight. In fact, of his last 4 fights. So wait there. Get this right. Timmy Fumbles his opponent at the weekend, yeah, in his last fight, got knocked out. And the man who knocked him out has been knocked out twice in his last 4 fights. Do you understand? And the people who have knocked him out are also average dons, average random Eurobum dons. As you can see, I've put both of their records on your screen throughout this video. Yeah? That don, called Patrick Semensky, that cat is the one who knocked out Timmy Fumbles' opponent this weekend. And his resume is dead as well. He's been knocked out a whole bunch. So this whole narrative of, Timmy Fumbles, Deontay Wilder, yeah, giving it all that John Fury is about 10-1 and about, it's the Gypsy Golovkin. That's what they were saying. John Fury said, Tom Fury's the Gypsy Golovkin. Listen, the Gypsy Golovkin ain't fighting Patrick. I'm not even sure what the guy's name is. Not even Patrick, is it? It's some next bummy don. What's the guy's name? Daniel Broski. Yeah, Daniel Broski. Listen, Daniel Broski. The Gypsy Golovkin ain't fighting Daniel Broski. The bare knuckle Golovkin ain't fighting Daniel Broski, aka Daniel Nochinsky. Yeah, Daniel Nochinsky has been knocked out cold by some random Eurobumski. Yeah, some random Eurobumski has already knocked out Daniel Broski. So what? Do you know what I'm saying? What are we doing here? Yeah? Why is Daniel Nochinsky fighting some other bum, some other Eurobumski? Yeah? We don't know. That's the question about bare knuckle Golovkin. Get serious, John. And not even him, Frank Warren as well. I'm sick of the capping. Be honest. You're fighting a complete stifler. Yeah? 100%. You might as well have gone on American Pie and dragged off Stifler off the show and just whacked him in there with Timmy Fumbles. Stop lying, stop capping. And what gets me as well is the whole narrative of, I'm fighting real boxers, Jake Paul. Tyron Woodley would wash your whole resume. Timmy, you fought a knockoff version of Tyron Woodley in Anthony Taylor, and you went life and death. That fight really was a draw. If you weren't no word of a lie, if you go back and watch it, everyone watch it. Timmy Fumbles versus Anthony Taylor. Watch that fight. That fight, if it wasn't for an A side and a B side, that would have been a draw. There was nothing in it. It was 50-50. Both men did nothing. Yeah? About Golovkin. Golovkin would have knocked that little... And the worst thing is, that midge, Anthony Taylor, was half his size as well. Legitimately, they weren't in the same weight class. You can even see, in fact, let me have a look at it right now. Yeah, look at the weights. The weight's completely different. My Anthony Taylor was 0-0, never had a boxing fight in his life. And you got Timmy Fumbles talking about, Jake Paul don't fight no boxers. In your last fight, you fought a random MMA don who's never fought a day in his life. Jake Paul knocking out cold UFC champs who at the time were pound for pound strikers within the UFC. And what you notice about Timmy Fumbles is he criticises Jake Paul. But really, if Jake Paul's fighting people, who were that easy, the question is, what if I was managing Timmy Fumbles? I'd be saying, listen, Timmy, we know Jake Paul's fighting bums, so we know how to make this fight happen. Let's do a better job than Jake Paul did against Tyron Woodley. Let's go in there and completely dominate Woodley. Guess what? Not one person from Timmy Fumbles' team have mentioned that. You know what? We're going to get Tyron Woodley in and we're going to wash him within 6 rounds. Oops. You don't hear nothing about that. Instead, they wheeling out Daniel Broski, a.k.a. Daniel Nochinsky, who, let's go through the guy's resume now. Like I said, in his last fight, he got knocked out by a man who's been knocked out. You can see the resume there. So the man who knocked out Timmy Fumbles' opponent at the weekend has 4 losses in his last 6 fights. I'm going to see how many of them are KOs as well. So in his last 6 fights, he's had 4 losses. Oh wow, it gets worse, people. Wow, it's bad. Oh my god, it's got worse. Check this out. It's unbelievable. I can't believe this. What's going on? So the man, who knocked out Timmy Fumbles' opponent at the weekend, in his last 7 fights, he's lost 5 and been KO'd 4 times. And that's the man, who knocked out Timmy Fumbles' opponent at the weekend. Timmy Fumbles' opponent at the weekend got knocked out by a man who is who has lost 5 of his last 7 and has been KO'd in 4 of his last 7. And that man knocked out the man who you're fighting. It's like, this man is better than the man you're fighting. And he's been knocked out to Kingdom Come. It's unbelievable. Timmy Fumbles didn't even dare fight this one, Patrick Szymanski. He was too good. The man who's been knocked out in 4 of his last 7, it was too good for Timmy Fumbles. Timmy Fumbles is fighting the guy below this guy. It's honestly unbelievable. And in fact, let's go back to the guy who Timmy Fumbles is actually fighting. But it's important to note the peakness of this situation. And it's not like the man who knocked out Timmy Fumbles' opponent, he wasn't being knocked out by these up-and-coming bucks. He's being knocked out by any man's. Any man's having to go on these cats. But anyway, let's go through the rest of this guy's resume. Patrick Szymanski. So, let's go through the rest of the resume of Daniel Broski, Daniel Broski is Timmy Fumbles' opponent. So, that's the guy who knocked him out. Now, let's criticise or let's analyse the wins of Broski. Because they keep going on about, he's 10-1. Well, we've just defined that he's been not, and that's the thing about Timmy Fumbles. Notice he goes for people who are vulnerable. Of all the people you could pick, did you really need to pick someone who's been knocked out in their last fight and hasn't fought for a year? And you talk, and again, I wouldn't mind so much if you're honest. Listen, Timmy Fumbles, he's completely useless. He got no chin, and etc. etc. We need to get him a KO. Yeah, I'd get that. But the fact you got Frank Warren lying, it's 10. It reminds me of last time. Jake Paul exposed it. Jake Paul came out and exposed that Timmy Fumbles was fighting someone's great uncle who was like 45. And the man came out and said, Jake Paul exposed, and then basically Frank Warren ended up pulling the guy from the card because Jake Paul exposed it. The man was like 5-20, had lost 20 of his last 25 fights, and he was genuinely completely bald, about 50-year-old. He looked haggard, and the man said, I can't believe this. I'm not going to get paid $2,000 this week, and all this kind of stuff. The man was stressed. It's definitely the last thing he was an athlete. And you got Timmy Fumbles training day in, day out. And that's what I mean. It's not fair. It shouldn't be right, really. I think there should be 2 leagues. You should have a professional boxing league where you're committed to the sport, and you should have a random journeyman league. Because it shouldn't be right. You shouldn't have full-time athletes who have time and resources to get their nails done and their eyebrows done and to sit there posing on Instagram like Timmy Fumbles. They shouldn't be allowed in the ring with dons who have jobs and shit to do. It's not right. It's not fair. It's not equal. It's not real. It's not fair. It's not. And again, it's not even, or there should be the government or someone, the regulatory body needs to introduce advertising rules. For example, in gambling or in, if you're involved in investments online, they have to tell you the rates. 80% of people will lose, for example. They have to warn you. Well, guess what? The body, I'm not sure whoever it is, but the boxing body should tell people, listen, Timmy Fumbles is fighting a man who works at Tesco's and don't have no time to train. Do you understand? That's what should be advertised. Or this, basically, there should be advertisements telling you what I'm saying to you now. Timmy Fumbles, what? Because 10-1 isn't 10-1, is it? 10-1, for example, Lomachenko was 10-1. Lomachenko, most people when they think of 10-1, yeah, when they hear it, especially the way Frank Warren and John Fury have been rabbiting on, and Timmy Fury, even Timmy Fury himself, embarrassing. Oh, he's a live one. We've got a live one here. He's 10-1, so he's not coming to mess about. What do you mean? He's 10-1, but he got knocked out in his last fight by a man who's also been knocked out in 5 of his last 7 fights. What are you lying for? Well, I know why you're lying. It's embarrassing. You're trying to boost yourself up. It's super cringe. It really is. These guys are the most bottom of the barrel. And let's go for the rest of the resume here. So he gets knocked out. Timmy Fury's opponent, yeah, gets knocked out by Mr. 5-7. Yeah? Gets knocked out by Mr. I've lost 5 of my last 7 and been knocked out in 4 of those. Then he beats a man who has 6 losses. 6 consecutive losses. So the last win Timmy Fumbles' opponent had was against a Don with 6 consecutive losses. Oh my god, it gets worse. The man, so Timmy Fumbles' opponent, yeah, the weekend, his last win was over a man who is 11-37. Yeah? Timmy Fumbles' opponent last win was over a man who has 37 losses and only 11 wins. And who had 6 consecutive losses in his last fight. And Timmy Fumbles' opponent only just scored a unanimous decision over him. So Timmy Fumbles' opponent could only just beat a man who's 11-37 with 6 consecutive losses. Didn't knock him out cold. Here we go again. Timmy Fumbles' opponent then went on to go 50-50 on points with a man who has another 6 consecutive losses. Who picking this guy? This shows you how bad they think Timmy Fumbles is as well. I don't care what no one says. Who picks this guy? Who picks an opponent who is fighting and barely beating dudes who are I mean, look at it. It's full of red. Timmy Fumbles' opponent beats on points Attila Nagy. 6 consecutive losses. He then beats on points a don called Tomazi Gargula. 6 consecutive losses. Another guy he beats, Premislav Benindia. Another 6 consecutive losses. And even that, check this out, it was a mixed decision. So Timmy Fumbles' opponent's last 3 wins were against dons who all had 6 consecutive losses, back to back to back. And Timmy Fumbles' opponent is going life and death with them. Because they're all points and or mixed decisions. Literally 50-50 wars he's having with these guys. All of them, every single one is on points. And they're all complete bums. Look at the resumes. Here's another one. Premislav India, the last one I mentioned. He has 6 consecutive losses and his overall resume is 2-12. He lost 12 of his last 14. I'm sorry, people, it's just not acceptable. It's just not. It's absolutely not acceptable. The last time this guy scored a KO was 6 years ago. Against a man who was 4-6. I'm sorry, it's not good enough at all. And to be honest, look at the weights as well. If you look at the weights, this guy is really a 168 pounder. Yeah? Before Timmy Fumbles' last fight, the guy got knocked out at 168 pounds by that. Oh, obviously he's only got one loss, but yeah, that was at 168. Timmy Fumbles really looking like a cruiserweight. Big action man looking ass. No legs, have an ass. All pumped up weightlifter looking, have an ass. Yeah, Timmy Fumbles has been hanging around AJ, it seems. Big weightlifter. But listen, you've heard the expose. Timmy Fumbles' opponent is shocking. Timmy Fumbles' opponent's resume is shocking. The people who beat him are even more. Oh, it's bad all round, and it had to be debunked because I just got sick of hearing it. So you've seen the leaked evidence. Frank Warren, the rest of the Fury camp have tried to keep this information locked away. Your man, the YB, don't miss. It's been exposed. Timmy Fumbles, you're a complete whopper. You're a joke. And the thing is, I guarantee you, be honest, you man. Be honest, Fury fans. For the last week, yeah, when you've heard this whole narrative, honestly, I almost couldn't, if I didn't know, yeah, I almost couldn't believe it myself. The way they've been talking. Oh, we've got a live one. Oh, he's only had one loss. Oh, he's coming to win. Oh yeah. Better watch out. Oh, it's a live one. Oh, I've got to be on my P's and Q's because it's a real. 10-1. Oh, he's 10-1, so you know he's not coming to roll over. Wow. No word of a lie. Like I said, if it was left to them, if it wasn't for the YB, yeah, me and most other people were thinking Timmy Fumbles was going in there with a Lomachenko, who was 10-1. Wow. Look, it's 10-1, just like Lomachenko. I'm surprised they didn't say that, to be fair. Oh, it's 10-1, just like Lomachenko was. Do you know what I mean? How embarrassing.